I'm pretty excited, man. I'm not gonna lie, you guys, because we really were predicting it. We were saying like, oh, it needs to happen, blah blah blah. But there was part of me, part in my back of my mind, I was like, they're not gonna do shit, man. This is just gonna be how it is. This is really gonna be something that we have to solve ourselves. But here we are, almost. Let's just read it. Okay. Season 1 is off to a roaring start, and we've been playing lots of dungeons and gotten lots of feedback from players during this week in Mythic Plus and Dragonflight. We want to be careful not to change too much as players are still figuring out the new dungeons, and that was what I was worried about. We've identified some areas we'd like to act on feedback sooner than later. This is so great. Following the Mythic dungeon tuning announcements, we'll go live with the scheduled weekly maintenance tomorrow. So that is, by the time you're watching this, it's probably already on its way. Algathar Academy. Aggravated Skitterfly's darting sting damage reduced by 25% and should now try to sting different targets. I mean, right out of the gate, we see just a really intelligent decision here, because it's not really like the mob does a lot of damage, but the reason the mob sucks is because all three of them could target the same individual and then they just die. You know what I mean? And it doesn't really matter. The dungeon's easy. It doesn't necessarily need to be changed. There's lots of way to counter it. But it's just not fun. It's just unfair, and it's not really like you're going to tilt over that. Nobody wants that. So that's not good. And I just think this is a really good one. This is like a microcosm for everything we wanted to see here. Anyway, resolved an issue that caused the Spectral Invoker's arcane missiles to not scale properly with key level. And I don't know what that is, but I would imagine it's going to be harder now, because that trash was insanely easy before. Maybe some of the easiest trash in the game, and it does seem like there maybe was something wrong with that. Then we have Overgrown Ancient branches health reduced by 40%. So what is this? Is this the ads? I don't exactly know what some of these things are, but of course we predicted that the ads might be the problem here, and I think the solution to it will be the ads as well. But let's just make 100% sure here about what it is. Ancient branch is going to be yes. Oh, it's actually that mob. Okay, so that's interesting. That's not the solution I would have liked to see, but I am on the team here that thinks that these ads probably scale with fortified. So it's going to be the little tree ad. That's the mob that when you kill, it puts the green circle around it when it dies, and you need to potentially stand in it to clear it. It also heals you, but the problem is it will heal the mobs and the boss as well. So buffing this mob's health, I mean, that doesn't really help the fight, but we'll see how it plays out, because I'm still believing that this fight is only so hard this week as an outlier in that dungeon, simply because those ads that spawn on the fight probably scale with fortified. And so even the boss now will have more health on tyrannical, but the ads will just die so fast that it won't matter. We'll see. We'll find out tomorrow. The Azure Vaults, Corrupted Lasher's health reduced by 20%, and that's obviously a very dangerous mob type, so I'm not surprised that they're nerfing those. I think they should probably nerf the damage they do, but that's fine too. Arcane Tender's infused ground damage reduced by 33%, and so that's just a bunch of nerfs to the beginning of the dungeon, and nothing crazy, but it's a good start. Azure Blade, which is the third boss, I believe. Just want to make 100% sure, so let us take a look. Yes, that is the second boss. This boss is the one that's been causing all the problems. So let's see what they do. Overwhelming energy damage reduced by 25%. Overwhelming energy cast time increased to 3 seconds, was 2 seconds. There is now a delay before overwhelming energy inflicts damage and expels ancient orb fragments was instantly inflicts damage, and ancient orb damage has been reduced. Resolved an issue that caused the broadcast of overwhelming energy to not display, or to display incorrectly. So yes, they basically nerfed the transition phase dramatically, right? That's what all that is, I believe. Overwhelming energy is moves to the center of the room and begins to gain power. So all of the mechanics that take place when it's like a stationary portion of the fight and we're killing the ads, they've all been nerfed dramatically. Of course, this isn't really going to change the fact that people still don't know how to move their character, but I guess now you won't get one shot by it. So that's good. Court of Stars, Legion Hound's Fell Blaze Puddle has now properly a screen effect while standing within the fell puddle left on the ground. Okay, so not what I was expecting. I was definitely thinking that they would nerf the imps in this dungeon, because I just got out of this dungeon. We did an 11 just to help people in the guild, and the imps we let them cast free, one shot everybody in an 11. That's wild. So but okay, that's fine. Those imps are fully CCable, so not really needed. Halls of Valor, one of my favorite dungeons. Ebon Claw Warg's Leap for the Throat. Damage that's been reduced by 20%, and that is pretty much why you just get one shot on those mobs. 20% does not seem like enough to me, but you know, obviously it's going to be way easier next week regardless. Resolved an issue that caused the Warg's Leap for the Throat to target the primary threat player. Wait. Resolved an issue that caused Ebon Claw's Warg's Leap for the Throat to target the primary threat player. Oh, wait, so it's not supposed to hit the tank? Is that what it's saying? I'm not fully understanding that, but, you know, I guess we'll find out more in the coming days. Claw's Frenzy. This is on the third boss, Fenrir. Claw's Frenzy's cast time is increased to 1 second. It was instant, and now has a visual to indicate that the damage it inflicts is split by targets in the area. And so that's the kind of big AoE thing that everybody needs to soak, or only the tank soaks realistically, but yeah, everybody should soak that. And so it's now more logical and always, so that's cool. Knockout Offensive. Okay, here we go. This is the meat and potatoes right here. Soul Harvester's Death Bolt Volley has been increased to 3 seconds. That's really nice, because a lot of times people are not able to kick that cast. The Shatter Soul and Death Bolt Volley now cast less frequently, so those are big nerfs to that mob. We have the Corruptors, which are the mobs in that area as well. Death Bolt has been increased by a little bit, and they also cast the Necrotic Eruption less frequently, so these are big nerfs to that mob. Deathspeaker's Chant of the Dead cast time has been increased to 8 seconds, and it's also been cast less frequently. And I believe Chant of the Dead is just a big green circle, so we just move out of that. Now it's kind of immobilizing the mob for a longer period of time. We just move out of it, and it's going to happen less, so we don't have to move out of it as often. Here's the Swift Wind. So this is the tip we got. You can actually mind control this mob as a Blood Death Knight, and you can put this buff on your party. Apparently pretty good. I've yet to do it, but it's now a 3-second cast time. Basically, they're just making everything easier to interrupt. And here's a really nice one. Mortal Strike's duration reduced to 4 seconds, and is now cast less frequently. Massive nerfs to this area. And the birds, the flap, you know, the guys that flap, their Rotting Wind range has been reduced to 25 yards, and it now casts less frequently as well. So they just nerfed the absolute hell out of that area. And it's not really, you know, I think that area is very disproportionately difficult. I think a lot of that was raging. It's not the only area that I think needs some adjustments in that dungeon, but that is certainly going to make it a lot better. So I'm really happy about that. But a lot of healers are going to be rejoicing at this. Electrical Storm's damage on the Raging Tempest has been reduced by 15%. Now, of course, is that going to make up for the fact that it's now Tyrannical Grievous this coming week? No, you know, but that's still a much better tuning situation there. And it also makes the Energy Surge duration reduced to 8 seconds from 10 seconds. So Energy Surge, I believe, is the circle, right? Let's check one more time on these things. I don't want to get these wrong, but I'd imagine that's the circle, right? So electric Energy Surge. Raging Tempest experiences an Energy Surge, increasing melee attack speed and causing melee attacks. Okay, so I don't actually know what that is then. That Lightning Strike is the circle. I think this is maybe this is when the boss, like, you fail to soak a ball or something. I don't really know that. But yeah, you guys can tell me what that is down below. But either way, this is a big change, and you know, we'll see what happens with the health pool of the boss, but that should make it a lot easier to heal. Ruby Life Pools. Actually, you know what? Let's skip Ruby Life. We'll come back, because I want to read that one last. Temple of the Jade Serpent. Depraved Mistweaver's Defiling Mist damage has been reduced, and that's good, because I think that one is just often, it's just way too difficult. Like, you can't expect to kick every single cast in this dungeon, and if you miss that one, it's really bad. Mistweaver's Touch of Ruin's initial aura is now a curse effect. Touch of Ruin, initial aura. Okay, so that's a curse now, so that can be purged or whatever. It can be dispelled by curse wielders. Wise Mari improved the visibility on the corrupted geyser's warning effects, and resolved an issue that could prevent Wise Mary's facing to display properly during a wash away. And so that's a bug that we've been dealing with all week, but it seems like just bug fixing. Shaw of Doubt, that's the last boss. Touch of Nothingness damage reduced by 20%. So if you saw the run we did today, yesterday, Monday, whenever you're watching this, it was actually such a big deal that we got both of those dispelled thanks to the Warlock pet, that it makes the fight so much easier. So that's a nerf to that. And then Bounds of Reality reduces damage taken by 99% instead of granting immunity to all damage. And I don't know if that really helps anybody, but I think historically This kind of change would mean that you can still generate resources or get some benefit from hitting the target. If it's immune to all damage, you usually cannot do that. And so now even it's 99%, so we're not really going to do any real damage to it, but perhaps that makes somehow the fight easier to keep everything underneath the boss and get some benefit from it. So here we go, make or break. Everything else, you know, just forget about it. It doesn't matter. They're hard, they're easy, it doesn't really matter. No changes to Shadow Moon Burial Grounds, by the way, in case you haven't seen, which is strange on its own, but hey, you know what? They're not buffing anything yet, so we'll see. Let's take a look at Ruby Life Pools. The Scorchlings no longer cast Burning Touch. What does that do? Does that matter? Okay, cool. Thunderhead and Flame Gullet are now visible from much further away, making their flight path easier to keep track of. That's huge. That is huge. That is such a big deal. If you watched the run today, you would have seen we sat there for almost 3 minutes waiting to see if the fire guy was going to patrol into us, because I was so scared to pull the trash with him potentially looming that we would wipe to that and that would lose the key. So that is a huge thing. Now we know exactly where and when they are going to pat and where they're going to end up. Primalist Flame Dancer's Flame Dance has been increased to 6 seconds. That was what I was recommending the whole time. It's very difficult to get that cast at times, especially when you're locked into globals. So now 2 seconds extra should completely alleviate that. That's perfect. Living Bomb from the Destroyer has been reduced by 40%. That's a big nerf. That is a very dangerous mechanic. I always thought it was supposed to be because there's a bit of a kiss curse to it. You could use it to impact the actual trash as well. You'll knock them up in the air and it could help interrupt and stuff. I don't know if it actually does damage to them, but I think it might. And then Tempest Channeler's Lightning Storm periodic damage and duration have both been reduced by 20%. And that's the last mobs at the end of the dungeon that do that kind of AoE, really heavy lightning damage, and that has been nerfed. Okay, so that's been nerfed substantially because it's periodic damage and duration. So that's going to just make it do way less damage over the course of its lifespan. Now we have Koikia Blazehoof. That is the second to last boss, and frankly, a very low-key, difficult boss. I think this boss is going to cause a lot of problems on Tyrannical. And again, we will see what scales with Fortified and what doesn't. But that ad is a real pest right now. And as they seem to agree with that, they're nerfing both the health of both ads, one by 15% for the boss, which is quite good, and 20% for the ad. That is a generous nerf. So that fight might become a lot easier. And then we have the final change of the week here. Eckhart Stormvane's health has been reduced by 10%. And so has the Dragon's. Karaka's health has been reduced by 10%. While Karaka is grounded, Flamespit will now target a maximum of 3 players. And that is an interesting change, because if you watched again and watched the run we did today, as soon as we went into phase 2, it just fell apart, like completely, like unbelievable amounts of damage. So they didn't nerf that, which is disappointing because that's clearly what needs to be nerfed in my eyes. The health pool is too large of many bosses. They didn't really address that today either. So, you know, what do I think about these changes? Ruby life pools, that was, yeah, not as much as should have happened, but I like the way they're thinking about it. They're making the mechanics easier for you to deal with, not necessarily making them like trivially easy, but you can have a lot more interaction in how you deal with them now. And, you know, like these types of things, you know, dodgeable mechanics, stunnable mechanics, the things that shouldn't really kill you, this is a lot more approachable now, okay? So that dungeon's still going to be very difficult, and it's probably going to be impossible still this coming week with Tyrannical and Fortified, or Tyrannical and Grievous, but it's better. It's better than it was. And, you know, so no changes to Shadow Moon Burial Grounds. Not really any changes to the easy dungeons at all, Quarter Stars as well. I think the best that we see here is the Nakahood offensive changes, which is staggering to me, honestly, because, you know, I feel like that dungeon's quite easy, and really the only hard part was that trash. So I'm glad that they nerfed it, but it's kind of strange that they didn't nerf some of the other big problem points that we've seen in the other dungeons. So we'll see how it plays out, guys. Let me know what you think. I'm sure there's a lot of people who want to see even more nerfs. So let me know exactly what you think they should nerf and what they should do. But as of right now, I think there's a lot of question marks on what the bosses will actually look like in Tyrannical. And I'm going to be proud to show you guys another, hopefully 7 days of streaming this week where we take a look at all of that. So thank you for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one.